What's going on, guys? Steve from the Midmasters here, and today I'm gonna show you guys what it's like to break down a transmission. So notice I said I'm just showing you what it's like to break down a transmission. This is gonna be my first build, so I don't think I'm in a position to teach you guys how to do this. I'm not one of those YouTube kind of people. But if anything, my goal here is to show you like what was my process, what did I go through? Because I mean, this is my first. Like, at what point do you go, yes, I'm gonna tackle the hardest thing, you know, quote unquote, the hardest, most difficult thing to repair on a vehicle. Like, when did I reach that point and what am I doing about it? So anyway, here we go. I'm gonna show you what my setup is. So I've been told you want a nice clean surface. This is a piece of aluminum that I had sitting around for a fabrication product, but I decided to work for a good workbench because you want something as clean as possible. And I probably could, you know, go and clean it up. I have rags for spills, because now those for spills because of lint-free rags over here. I've got ATF, Vaseline for assembly, and then I've got my pins that I can soak clutches in ATF. That way they'll go in fine. I've got my toolbox where I need it. And then in the best interest of making this thing go smoothly, I bought all kinds of assembly tools and things. I know there's like, take a piece of plastic, you know, throw some salt, you know, cut a finger and throw it in a pot of water and you make something happen. I'm not trying to do any voodoo. I want tools, I want hard science. I wanted this thing going as smoothly as possible. So that's what a lot of this stuff is. This box here has all the soft rebuild and hard rebuild stuff. Here's the transmission right here. As far as that jack goes, I got that on Amazon. It's like $100, so you don't have to get too worried. I couldn't find a place that rent one out here in Kansas. But I'll give you a kind of a general idea transmission-wise. This is your torque converter. This is one of the heavier pieces. Once this comes off, this thing's going to lose a decent amount of weight. But I do have a new torque converter because I really don't know what's wrong with this or if there's anything wrong with it. I know there's ways of testing it, but I do not have a tachometer in the truck, so I can't use any of the conventional tests. But essentially what's going to happen is this is going to come out and that will expose the pump. Let's do it in sections here. So your pump starts right here, and then all your clutches and everything pretty much fit in this portion here. So we'll undo the pump and we'll pull out each section and then kind of just look at them. And so the one thing I'm looking for is right here. There's a band, your overdrive band, and I'm looking to see if the bands wore out, number one, or if the pin, the servo pin that connects to it, if that's messed up. So like, you can't quite see it in here, but there's a piece of metal in there. That's a new pin. Sometimes the pin gets worn out and like, you know, fluid escapes around it. So you need like one that has O-rings. So this one's got O-rings. So little stuff like that. But in general, make yourself as comfortable as possible. Get everything. See, I got my radio here. Now here, I have two internet write-ups, one by an engineer, one by a guy who's pretty much my same situation. And then I have this book, let's see, I think this is done by Performance Transmission, but it's really neat. They do AODs, AODEs, and 4R70W, so clearly we're going to go to the AODE 4R70W section. But they go step by step explaining everything. And you know what, this is actually, you know, by an actual technician. And then like here, like, you know, they have little things saying, you know, pay attention. They'll also have little spots in here where it says, you know, special tool required kind of thing. So in this case, it's this little piece of plastic, but I went ahead and I actually went and got like some really official kind of stuff. So yeah, really neat. The reason I want 3 sources is just so that I have a constant reference to things. So that book is somewhat of the pull it out and replace it philosophy with tools. And then I have a write-up done by an engineer, and the engineer, you know, recommends having a dial indicator. That's what's in there. I have a set of measuring calipers in there. There's this bar you put on the top to take some measurements, which this book really doesn't get into. But like I said, if I'm doing this myself, I want it done right. I'm going to go through all the checks and procedures possible, and you guys are going to be able to watch me do this. So we're going to get started. First thing, I'm going to hoist this thing up on the table and start breaking it down. Typically, you want these things upright, and who knows, as we go on, maybe I'll construct something out of all this wood. But in the meantime, I just want to start pulling it apart and labeling and checking and all that good stuff. All right, I'm going to get started. Here's what happened. I pulled the torque converter off. Man, that thing weighs a ton. And once you take it out, that thing's just a little bit easier to carry. But yeah, watch out for some spillage. So anyway, I just have it set on the floor there. Jack's right there. I got it on the table. And I just broke all the bolts, as in broke loose, not actually broke them loose. So I'm just gonna undo them, pull them right out, and bring you guys back. All right, so the bolts are out, but here, I'm gonna show you something real quick. This is how I keep everything organized. I get a piece of cardboard, or in this case, the whole cardboard box. Punch some holes in it, put the bolts in, label it. You never lose anything. Look, you can turn it upside down. They're all still there. So anyway, I'm gonna somehow jimmy this off. It seems to be on there nice and tight, but you know, a little persuasion should come right out. All right, see ya. All right, so here's with the pump out. All right, I just spent like 10, 20 minutes trying to, you know, rethinking my life and how I was gonna get this out because it just didn't want to come out right away. So the proper way to do this is, so here's the pump, is to put bolts in that, see that? There's like threads there. Not all these holes have threads there. That one has threads, and that one down there has threads. But you put bolts in there and you just tug on those. Well, I took that set of water pump pliers there, and then just grabbed these fins and just gave each one a yank, you know, crisscross, and finally it came out. I'd say that's probably the easiest way to do it without having to go search around for bolts and whatnot. But so this is your pump. And then, remember I was saying you measure things? Well, in one of these blog things, this is one of the things you measure, which is one of your thrust washers. But everything here, based on pictures and things and the manuals, looks pretty good. Like I said, the thing that I'm looking for is my overdrive band. And then these are clutches and stuff. Now this is where having this thing, you know, facing up would be better, because when I pulled this out, some of these were like half hanging out. And remember, you want to make sure you keep the order correct. So anyway, I'm just going to keep pulling stuff out. Find something interesting, I'll bring it back. And, well, wish me luck. Alright guys, here we are. This is kind of the collection of stuff. So I've gone through and everything looks pretty good, except for, and this was my problem all along, my AODE band's got some weird wear. It's actually kind of thin, so I got a new Kevlar one soaking over there and some ATF. And then there was a few other things that were kind of disconcerting. The teeth on here got these huge marks in them, and I called my transmission guy and I'm like, hey, you know, like, and there's like one missing. He's like, well, you know, that like comes like that, and then but these teeth, man, I don't like those at all. But he says that shouldn't really mess with anything too much. But hey, if that's become a problem, hey, I've already pulled this out once, so can do it again. So basically, just following what the book says. I'm just putting everything back in. So right now I'm putting the reverse band in, and then after you put the reverse band in, then this guy here goes in, and then you make sure you put your anti-clunk spring in there, because if you don't, it makes a clunk noise apparently. And then this shaft and this shaft go in, and then we put that guy in there. Well, actually, so that guy goes in there, then this guy, then that guy. And guess what? If I forget, you just go back to the book. Like I said, guys, I'm trying to reinforce the idea that, like, maybe you should try this. I mean, if you've done everything that I've had in the videos that I've been putting online and stuff like that, pretty sure that you can handle it, especially if you've already, like, done even some mild engine work or something. Like, I would say if you've done a water pump, timing belt, things like that, and you can follow steps in a book and stuff like that, I think you can do this. But anyway, I'm going to get back to it. Like I said, I'll continue to bring you back just to show you what's going on, this, that, and the other. So here I want to illustrate the importance of a blog as opposed to just going strictly off the book. So yeah, I just tipped this up so I have more access, and of course I got my handy Ryobi light there, you know, shine right in. So in there is the direct clutch pack in there, and then this is the planetary, and then this is the support. So I tried doing this. First off, I'll start in here. This is the low reverse band in here. So how the book does it is put the planetary in, then put the low reverse. And you want to do it opposite. Put this one in first and then do the planetary. And then you want to put this and install this with the planetary first while they're out. And you do it by turning it counterclockwise, and it will just slowly sink down in, and you're good. All right, get back to the install.